What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is down 8.6%, 1582 the low, 1730 the high. So a lot of craziness going on. 55.8 million shares being traded though, 68 is the average. So you are seeing a fair amount of volume. As far as news, there hasn't been anything from the company itself today. A lot of SEC forms that was submitted after hours, so a lot of Form 4s, and all of which are selling, but it does show that it's for tax purposes. So again, nothing really crazy. I think SoundHound still really messes up because they are using transaction code S right here. So that does mean it is a straight up sell. If it is for tax purposes, that is F. So they still continue to do a lot of that. Messing up, but nonetheless though, one thing that is really moving the broader market today is data points. So early this morning, we did have a couple that came out. So for instance, we had durable goods coming in at 2.9, forecast of -7, GDP 3.8, forecast of 3.3, and then initial jobless claims came in at 218 versus 240, the forecast. All coming in better than anticipated. So we are back at that whole inverse type of scenario where bad is good. And so technically this data, which did come out very positive, isn't what the market is looking at and wanting, because technically this doesn't really justify in Powell's eyes a cut. So you did see this drop down a little bit. So right now there's a 85.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming October 29th meeting. So this is what caused the push lower. And I feel like a lot of people realized that, hey, you know what, the data is actually positive, and things started to really push higher, but kind of last minute decisions and just fears started to really increase again. We have PCE as well coming out tomorrow, so that's what caused all of this right here. So I think right now the broader market is just playing a very crazy psychological game, and a lot of speculative stocks such as SoundHound and momentum stocks are just being swung like crazy. And we have roughly around 1 week left in Q3, so there is going to be a certain level of rebalancing that does happen. And in SoundHound's case, so for instance, looking here, just over the last 6 months, SoundHound has gone up about 60.88%, S&P up 15.09. So generally, SoundHound will need to be sold in some cases because it's generally done fairly well, a lot better than other growth stocks out there. So of course, any ETF or institution that have a fixed percentage to own SoundHound will have to sell, right? Because if SoundHound did outperform a lot of the other stocks, then essentially it'll have to be sold off. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Nothing crazy from what I can see on the dark pool or the secondary market right now. A couple big ones. So 1.1 million, that just happened roughly around 20 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, 1.08. So based on this, you do see a fair amount of buying and selling. Dark pool, kind of, it is what it is, rather normal stuff. This is often enough linked to shorting. So when it comes down to shorts, at the time of doing this video, they are returning 988,000 shares. So this is why I like to analyze this type of information, because by shorts returning, it does show that today's push lower isn't really justified. But 32.67% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 119.18 million shares overall being shorted. So absolutely craziness going on. Cost of borrow average sitting at 2.52%. DTC 2.1 days on a side note, so still goes to show that shorts are rather overextended. Looking at the options, we are seeing a lot of money getting into SoundHound options. 27 million in calls, 5.7 in puts, and 47% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. This one clearly stands out. So between 1235 and 1240, there was $5.4 million in premiums. And if we kind of look at this, sort it based on this, on the premiums, you see that there was a lot of multi-leg transactions, but these, based on the timestamp, it looks like an iron condor was completed, and for the most part they are anticipating for it to be kind of between that $15 and $17 range. for the most part over the next little bit. So again, just familiarize yourself with a lot of the option trades and transactions and whatever else. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 1850. So a lot of optimism still on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of $15.50 to $16. So a little bit more upside is anticipated. So I think some of that optimism will come down to PCE data tomorrow. So just let me know your viewpoint on that. But with it at 1631, trading between this R2 and this R1. So 1609 is going to be that strong support. And for those of you that follow me on my Patreon, I've been giving a lot of good buy signals. So I recently did have 1750, or I think it might have been 1770 as a good target. And so it did hit that recently. So yesterday I did give an update saying that I did feel that it was going to go down to that 1609. I didn't anticipate it to go down this fast, but I do feel generally it will be bouncing off of this and really starting to move higher. So for those of you that are interested, pop over to the Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. Take a look at kind of my analysis on SoundHound, and plus even aside from that, I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. But 1782 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, followed by 2064. Aside from that, there hasn't been any real new analyst ratings. Last one came out 8 days ago. H.C. Wainwright, I've already brought that up in a previous video though. Aside from all that fun stuff, on the actual chart, today's craziness caused it to bounce off of that 10-day moving average. So it is doing a little bit better, but looking at the market position, you have a lot of strong buys up until roughly around that 1590, give or take. And then it has this gap to 1497. So if PCE does come in a little bit negative, you could see a pull lower to that 1497. So it is all going to come down to the data. Flip side, if the PCE is positive, you could see a very nice push higher to around that 1720 to 1740. So again, something to keep in mind. No real articles coming out associated to SoundHound. So I think the last news about Red Lobster, I feel like a lot of people just generally didn't like it as much as probably they were expecting. Again, Red Lobster is just one subsidiary of many, so I think they could cause a nice domino effect across the board, but clearly the market didn't really catch on to that. And no new analyst ratings or anything like that. Algos are a little bit active today, based on this right here. So again, the flow, I always like to analyze that and everything else. Honestly, I think the next big thing for SoundHound is going to be their upcoming earnings. And so far it hasn't been scheduled, but kind of if history repeats itself, it'll be the first week of November. So this is where we can start to analyze a lot of the margins, just a lot of the actual data, right? Because profitability, that's what investors at this stage in the game are really going to care about. So let me know your general thoughts on SoundHound. Where do you see it going tomorrow? Do you think PC is going to come in better or negative, kind of causing like a lot of volatility? And even as on a side note, I know I mentioned it already, if you haven't researched options, kind of just do your research, take the time, because they can be very profitable on a lot of volatile stocks such as SoundHound. Whether you are just selling puts or selling covered calls against your position, you can make some pretty good premiums coming in. And plus there's a lot of more complex kind of strategies that you can do, such as the one I brought up. So let me know your general thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Pop over to my Patreon. Like I said, put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.